Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Saturday to all of you ladies and gentlemen, and I want to say thank you very much to those of you that joined in during yesterday's live stream. Had a great time, so thank you very much for joining in. Well, today we're going to talk about what 2030 is going to look like if those that want to control every aspect of our lives, ladies and gentlemen, just wait and see what their plans are taking us into 2030. By 2030, you will not be able to eat meat, ladies and gentlemen, or you will not be allowed to eat meat, and only be allowed to buy up to 3 clothing items per year. That is what this report that was dug up, that was put out in 2019, says. And take a look at what's going on with these 15-minute cities, with the draconian measures that they want to impose on us, ladies and gentlemen, in order to cut our carbon footprints while they still fly in their jets. I believe it's in France, correct me if I'm wrong please in the comments, I believe it's in France that they are making it illegal for you to be able to fly from one part of the country to the other if there is rail service available. So now if you want to fly from point A to point B in France, I believe it's in France, you can't do it anymore if you can do it by train. So instead of doing it in 1 hour, now you have to go ahead and take up 5 or 6 hours to do it. But that's what I heard. I didn't actually research that. I just heard that. So they're imposing these regulations, these rules on us, the commoners, right? But they're not imposing it on themselves. And that is the big problem that I have. Look, let's say, for example, that we all went along with this global warming, this climate change, whatever you want to call it. Let's say that we all went along. We're 100% on board. Yes, we need to cut our emissions down because if we don't, we are going to die. The earth is no longer going to be able to sustain life if we don't cut these emissions down. And we have till 2029, ladies and gentlemen, right? We have what, 7 years left or 6 years left, whatever it may be. Pick your year, right? So let's say it was all true. It would be the end of mankind. Then why is it that not everyone does it? Why is it that there are people that I'm more important, so I can take a jet 15, 20 times a month to go from here to there, and you can't even fly on a plane once a month or once a year to go where you want to go? You see, the thing is that when they impose these rules upon us, it's only going to keep getting more and more draconian. They're only going to keep taking more and more away. It's the frog in boiling water, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we need to be aware of what's going on. This really is turning into a Hunger Games, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? It truly is. So this was extracted from a report that was put out back in 2019. And that report recommends, ladies and gentlemen, that by the year 2030, we will not be permitted to eat meat. Did you get that? We will not be permitted because we don't know any better. You know, we can do an entirely separate video on how consuming animal products is a lot safer and better for the environment than consuming all of these alternative meats, consuming all of these other things that are not animal products, how they destroy the environment. We will be limited to 3 items of new clothing every year. And I forgot to say, on top of meat, dairy products will be restricted as well, if you can eat them at all. Get your chickens, right? Get your animals that you want to raise so that you can raise them either for meat or for eggs or for milk, whatever it is, right? So only 3 items of clothing per year and 1 airplane flight every 3 years. So it's not even once a year that we can get on a plane. It's every 3 years, ladies and gentlemen. And it will start with countries that what? That consume the most. If you're not part of the club and you're in a country that consumes the most, then you're going to be cut off. But if you're part of the club, if you're part of that oligarch that gets to be able to get away with all the crime in the world and not have to go to jail, and you all know what I'm talking about. It's not just what happened here not too long ago, all right, with this Hunter Biden guy. It's not just that, but just take a look at all of the crime that's been committed by people at the higher echelons of government over the years. Take a look at all of the crime that's been committed, not just on one side, but on both sides. Take a look at all of the crime. Have any of them wound up in jail? Have any of the officials that help people get away with crime, have they wound up in jail? Even though we can look back now and say, wow, that really was a crime. They really should have been prosecuted. But what they do is they play this out over years. That way, one of two things or two things happen. The public forgets and they don't care anymore because they've gone on to the next crisis, or because what is it? The limitations. When it expires, when your crime expires. I forget what the name of that is. But until that happens, when's the last time you got out of a speeding ticket? Right? A simple thing as a speeding ticket. Anyways, I know that I'm going off a little bit here on the side. I have to digress a lot of times, but it's the truth. The truth is that if you're not part of the club, ladies and gentlemen, it is you that will pay the price. 100%. Look at all of these laws that they pass in Congress for taxes. And half of the people in Congress, I would argue, all right, that half of the people in Congress probably owe back taxes. So as they're passing laws to tax you more, they themselves are not paying the taxes that they owe. It's pure hypocrisy. What this report aims to do, they say, is to quantify and then suggest, only suggest, ladies and gentlemen, but from what I understand, ESG is not really a way of suggesting anything. ESG is a way of telling a company you're either going to play ball or you're going to go out of business, okay? Even if you have to do things that are detrimental to your stockholders' shares. All right. It's going to be able to suggest city leaders to reduce consumption-based emissions. You all remember here not too long ago, there was an article about this, about the mayor of New York City saying, hey, listen, we're going to have to start tracking how much meat you consume because we have to bring down our consumption by 33% so that we can save the planet. In other words, reduce what you and I consume, be it food, clothes, travel, etc. The place to start is with those who consume the most. Consumption-based emission must be cut by at least 50% by 2030. What does that mean? What does that statement mean? Consumption-based emissions must be cut in half by 2030. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? Consumption-based emissions. Why do you think there is a war against oil or fuel, energy? Because without energy, we cannot consume. An economy is not an economy without energy. If you take an economy and you cut off half of the energy, you'll be left with about half of the economy. Go ahead and ask Germany what happens when your energy becomes too expensive, where you have to shut down businesses because you can't operate, it's too expensive, or where it becomes unavailable. I've said in the past that the goal is to bring down the standard of living of the West, to bring it down so that it'll match that of the other developing nations. And look at here, by 2030, they're saying that they want to bring down your standard of living by 50%. I think that our standard of living, by the time that they reduce it to what they want to reduce it, it'll be about 25% of what it is right now, which is not very much. All right, the report outlines 6 sectors where the world's cities can take rapid action to address consumption-based emissions: food, construction, clothing, vehicle, aviation, and electronics. And again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. I'll go back to the fact that if this global warming, climate change, whatever it is, if this was really real, right, and we all said, yes, this is real, we all agree, the entire world agrees, why is it that a select few don't have to follow the rules that everyone else has to follow? And if you want to download this, you come to this article, just click here where it says download, and you'll be able to download this, I believe, in a PDF format. But if you download that, it says starting on page 66. Okay, so take a look at this. Consumption intervention, material efficiency. All right, so progressive target in 2030. This is what they want to do. Progressive means, yeah, if we get there, it'll be good. But ambitious means, man, if we get there, it'll be great. All right, so reduction in steel and cement use of 20% to 32%. If you want to be ambitious, 35 to 56%. So let me ask you this question, ladies and gentlemen. Are they going to tell China to stop building energy plants that burn coal? No, ladies and gentlemen, they're not going to do that, because the countries that are going to be brought down to 50% of what they used to be as far as the standard of living is going to be our countries. Why do you think you never hear anything about China building more coal power plants? Right? More than ever. Now, happening right now. They're building coal power plants. Why don't they say anything about India putting the most plastic in the oceans than any other country? I do believe that it's India. Most of the plastic in the oceans, or the greatest amount of plastic that gets put into the ocean, is by India. Why don't they say anything about that, ladies and gentlemen? Because they're coming after the first world nations. Our nations, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so enhanced building use. What does that mean, enhanced building use? All right, maybe put a lot more people into the same space. Reduce demand for new buildings by 10%. I think that's going to happen anyways because our economy is going to heck, right? Our economy is done. And there's a lot of buildings right now that are going to be empty and stay empty for years, right? So ambitious is 20%. Let me see, 75% of residential and 50% of commercial timber buildings. So they want to go ahead and switch from using wood to build things to using something else, I guess, by 75% for residential and 50% for commercial. Right? Low carbon cement, 50% of cement replaced with low carbon alternatives. Now, if there is a cement that is low carbon, because for those of you that don't know this, cement is the third highest carbon yielding substance that's used in the world. So out of the things that emit the most carbon, cement is the third. All right. If there is some type, then I don't see what the problem is with that, as long as it's cost effective and it can still be affordable for people to use that can actually use it without going bankrupt, right? So if a business can still use this and it's not mandated, if it's not mandated to be used and a business wants to use it without going bankrupt because they can afford it, by all means, that's great. See, ladies and gentlemen, I don't disagree with a lot of this. The thing is it shouldn't be mandatory. And if it does become mandatory, it should become mandatory because the people wanted it. And I almost don't even agree with that it should be a democratic process. Because what happens is only 51% of the people want this. That means that the other 49%, they're screwed. They have to go by it because 51% want it. So I think this should just be voluntary. If you want to do your share, do your share. Is it voluntary for China right now to do what they're doing when other countries are shutting down power plants and they're building power plants? Yeah, it's voluntary for China. They're not closing anything down. But you got France, I think it's France, that shut down a whole bunch of their power plants, their nuclear power plants. And of course, we have Germany and a lot of Europe that shut down their consumption of gas coming from Russia. That was all voluntary, ladies and gentlemen. They did this because they wanted to go ahead and follow through with the sanctions. It should be voluntary. If you want to destroy your economy, go ahead, destroy it. But it should be voluntary. And I would say it wasn't even voluntary for Germany. I don't think that the people of Germany, the people of Europe, the people of all those countries in the EU said, yeah, I want to lose my business. Yes, I want to have a gas bill that's $10,000 a month. I don't think that was voluntary. That was pushed on them for an ideology that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. First, they attacked us with that health crisis, and then they attacked us with the energy. Dietary changes. This intervention is characterized by 3 major changes which are described in more detail. So the progressive target, let's just take a look at the progressive target because the ambitious target is kind of ridiculous. Only 16 kilograms of meat per person for a year. 16 kilograms, about 35 pounds. So, heck, I eat 35 pounds of meat probably every month. Anyways, that's me though, right? But 16, and for some people, for those of you out there that are vegetarian, this has, you're like, yeah, I can do that, no problem. But what about for the people that are not, right? 90 kilograms of dairy consumption per year. 2,500 calories per person per day. They even want to limit you to what calories you should be eating per day. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, the ambitious target is 0, 0, and still 2,500. Yeah, good luck getting 2,500 calories from vegetables in a day. Incredible. Reduce of household waste, 50%. If you want to reduce your household waste, ladies and gentlemen, by 50%, at least your biomatter, get chickens. All right, chickens eat everything. Avoid supply chain waste. I think that's a great thing to strive for, by the way. So if you have a supermarket that has stuff that's maybe 1 or 2 days away from expiring, food stuff I mean, like meat and stuff like that, produce, then offer it on sale so people can buy it and eat it, or give it to the food bank. And if it does get spoiled, instead of throwing it in the dump, allow people to come and take it so that they can feed it to their animals, right? We can work together and actually accomplish a lot of this stuff without being forced to do so. But regulations, ladies and gentlemen, laws. There's so many supermarkets that have to lock their dumpsters because people come in to dumpster dive and take food out of there. And the reason that the supermarkets do it is not because they don't want to feed people, in my opinion, it's because they don't want to be liable for someone getting sick or someone getting hurt on their property and then getting sued. But if they were allowed to put this out, let's say in in an area that was just for that, and there be a big sign and maybe someone sign a waiver saying, yeah, if I get hurt or if I get sick from this, that's on me because I'm taking this because I want to. If they were allowed to do that, they'd be able to save a lot of that food going to the landfill. Or at the very minimum, take that food and give it to a pig farmer or give it to people for their chickens, whatever it may be. Reduced number of clothing textile items, 8 new clothing items per year. Oh, that's the progressive target, 8 new items per year. The ambitious target is 3. I would probably be able to do that with no problem, but it should be my choice. Reduce waste and supply, reduction in supply chain waste, same thing, just for consumable items. And let's see, I think this might be the last one. Reduce ownership, 190 vehicles per 1,000 people. So they want to have 190 vehicles per 1,000 people. Ladies and gentlemen, good luck with that one. Private vehicles to 0 if it's ambitious. Do you think that the people that wrote these papers are going to be left with 0 vehicles, private vehicles, ladies and gentlemen? Ask yourself that question. Wow. Let me see. This one here says optimum lifetime for body of vehicle. Also, they're saying that if you have a vehicle, that they want you to have that vehicle for at least 20 years before the vehicle goes to the graveyard. I think that's good, but it should be up to you. You shouldn't be limited to how many vehicles you can buy. All right, because what you're buying that vehicle with is your labor, represents the labor that you had to spend in order to get that fiat currency to buy that vehicle with. So let's see, 50-year lifetime body of a vehicle, that's optimum. 50 years would be awesome. I would love to keep my Suburban for the rest of my life if I can keep it on the road. Let's see, 50% reduction in the use of metal and plastic material. Ladies and gentlemen, metal and plastic is used pretty much in everything. Take a look around your house. What doesn't have metal or plastic on it? All right, so yes, we can become more efficient at the way that we build things. My point with this entire presentation, my point is that yes, it's good to do things that's good for our environment. It's good to do things that's good for humanity as a whole. If we do apply to this climate change, global warming stuff, and let's say it's 100% true. It's great that we can do these things and come together in order to save the climate from getting above 1.5 degrees Celsius in the next 100 years. Okay? It's great that we can come together and do this. But first of all, and most importantly, it needs to be voluntary. It needs to be voluntary because human beings were meant to be free. This freedom stuff was an experiment that got out of control, that got out of the hands of whoever it is that allowed it to be. Because now that people know what freedom is, now that people cherish freedom, man, we're not going to give it up without a fight. And I hope that you won't either, ladies and gentlemen. I've probably made this video about 1,000 hours longer than it should be. So if you're still here, I truly do appreciate you all. And thank you very much for supporting me by clicking on the videos, by always being here with me, and by showing up on the live streams. We always have so much fun during our live streams. Such a great time. So ladies and gentlemen, having said that, let me go ahead and sign off for now. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to every one of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.